Yes, hello, good morning, and welcome to Ivan Che Innocent One here on YouTube. By way of update, may I sure say what the ongoing proceedings are the Chief Justice and the suspended Chief Justice moving from one court. She's engaging in what you call court shopping or judicial shopping, moving from one court to the other, seeking to halt process na air no. And Enra there has been a fresh development, and that is the update that made regarding Amanfo Ebisa Chief Justice case na Kosi Sen Akwakosi Sen a home update and made beba obeti andra your friend said the Human Rights Division of the Accra High Court is a ball mamman seminar or the buying to go yes in so niso and wafa kwan bi so a wa abuse court na say wo akwanya to go to court nti no fa nsɛmhunu bi a sabi no de ba court nti the court will not entertain sa abuse na chief justice na abuse court process no and some of the reliefs na o seek ya court no say or no need jurisdiction to hear those matters because sa nsɛm na all canon a part of a constitutional interpretation ama me krona asande akwa tam Supreme Court enti omudi ho asema enyeye. So these are the details my room fisa and some way echo Supreme Court ama Justice Amadou Tanko and the ruling by ama relief ni injunction application ama many penyina obobotugu ye one ten ho ase and or tam some they call high court about to agu and there is another one or they are called ECOWAS court and I'm catch say court shopping and judicial shopping you should understand because there is one process ongoing at the same time. It's the same process because now no kind ECOWAS relieves na all seek to you, and you could see the similarities in the for the question. Maybe some want to say a constitutional process that has been set in motion based on the specific constitutional provision within the jurisdiction of this country. Can ECOWAS court direct a committee that is set in motion by the president pen executive powers now are a source from the constitution? Can an ECOWAS court compel that particular president to say the constitutional process within the jurisdiction, no infraction be and obietimi akasa yabu mra way so there has been any abuse, never stopping from exercising the powers at that. These are legitimate questions ba abeka ho asebende and I'll walk you through the process obete the course so I say the Human Rights Division of the Accra High Court has dismissed the judicial review application filed by the suspended Chief Justice, Justice Gertrude Torkorno, ruling that the case constituted an abuse of court process and that the court lacked jurisdiction to entertain it. Another makacho ruling no name seven or the by in a court to not about to go because free said akwenya na obia wa the court no or abuse no and an seven or the other dying court in any minaka saman sama. The ruling delivered by Justice Kwame Amwakun, that is the judge, marks the collapse of a second legal challenge by the suspended Chief Justice over the ongoing proceeding for her removal from office under Article 146 of the 1992 Constitution. Makacho already or then 70 court ama born 70 to be a Supreme Court 5-0 application and no seeking injunction and as if on San Semno was signed the Bima Siakodam Supreme Court to be Supreme Court actually date is about the asem no and at the nipa krona siatam asem na for the party baby and they are high court and I can say mame won't to me abuse process no because some na what they ba ha na bi ho kra ye as a high court and you who to me say constitution and explicit constitutional instruction president activity and some no part of it kwa gina Supreme Court no ye akwanya ban na ye wo say ye be gina haka say court in seven na yekoso no and a committee in jana juma ye ni saa to me no until the judicial review no follow an earlier constitutional interpretation filed by the same Chief Justice at the Supreme Court, which is still pending. However, an injunction application she filed to halt the impeachment proceedings pending the outcome of the Supreme Court was previously dismissed. And the case na ye ka ho asem no filing no on the saying 9th of June 2025 or seeking some of the relief. Now court no bona sem na to agu no said the missy can categorize the relief and am no seeking into two baako yɛ sɛ part of it constitute abuse of the judicial process, and other part no so a lack of jurisdiction. And sɛ wotie judge no the reasoning behind ruling by say in the ruling of the justice Amoakono or categorize this said the culture into two and then relieve now or dismiss based on say mamen abuse process no ebi one. The court found that several of the Chief Justice claims were already before the Supreme Court in the constitutional interpretation case. MacArthur said, "We filed a case at the Supreme Court all per interpretation. Supreme Court nyantena asem so onyan hweye na wase abusa ansem na bi ade akọ court. It is a court to catch and say we abuse judicial process na because Supreme Court ne your friend say appeals court ne way court no enya Burkina ne China court ni nyina ye Ghana court is the same judiciary, and you cannot asem obuto to the kwa no wabuwe pa asem no de wa ha na sign the kwa ye nyesa. But the mentality is this is a woman who still thinks that she's better than Obia, she's bigger than Obi, onimnyansa achen Obia, and to betimi aye the upper and wodi, and the court today is telling her in the face you cannot abuse the judicial process. And there was allegations that the committee was proceeding unlawfully due to the registry's failure to provide authenticated petition and responses. Or no nasema okan nyina say ye nsam na ayekọ no ye modi nyina ntungu because President Mahama and as a committee no nyama any official petition bia any responses or the responded ye no answer no kushia committee officially no omunyam fa man but responses na no kano a response wa she worded those responses. And I'm a catch of a response and I also open the ruling from the premier facie ruling by the your friend is saying Council of State in that particular process and the judicial process in the assembly. They were just assessing the competence of that particular petition to go beyond the threshold. It's just a matter of communicating to the president, whether in writing or whatever. Constitution is even silent on that. So you cannot say you mount that particular ruling a constitutive basis for the whole process to be annulled. It doesn't make sense. And I think that it's childish for Obi or Chief Justice to be making such your friend is saying infantile argument at this time. Clearly you could see emotions are at play, not reasoning. And a request to prohibit the committee from continuing its work without those authenticated documents. And there's a committee, in fact, your friend is saying petition, the signatures, so yes, in mana. But don't forget that at the early stages of this whole thing, the woman complained to President Mahama, said, "Oh, here copies. Emma President Mahama, Emma and copies. Sa copies in the Nekudi, Paula Domochero the next day. Yet the mama, many we and a copy Paula Domochero. The following day, the gentleman was on TV talking about it. So in some now, all Casa young man authenticated where the president nan Casa actual and the copies are brow. So I don't know which kind of authenticated copies are all PBM. And again, allegations that the committee's composition was unlawful. Also, I can't say that event is in court and say Justice Ponamine Domilivone other people na ya setting omo up no san krofo no setting up no unconstitutional yamfa kwan papa so na say enye lawful menim ye fa ne san sa tumi no say constitution no the matter kono so ono mom no setting committee and constitution composition na nipa na ye menim be the anti original so all can say yamfa mra kwan so there nsem we yakokota ma about go atimi say nyansa ni nyina so bi anim, but she is doing these things to drag the entire process because nothing sensible and a court to timi hu ye in all these things are all bringing up. Okay, so Justice Amoakon held that the litigating these issues at the High Court while they are under active declaration by the Supreme Court amounted to duplicative litigation and an abuse of the court process. Said that Mexican and some ya okay and already the same person now at the Supreme Court. As Supreme Court ashada or Baba Kasa 7. I think that is in this August, yeah. It doesn't make sense. Say Baba Court and Abjin with the same issue. One Kasa Supreme Court. After all, the Supreme Court is bigger than this High Court. And this is what they are called. What is the point bringing these issues here? And Nunti and a judge in Nigeria so boss and sending to go here. And I'm catch as a relief, no say a bill so hard. Jurisdiction that the would need the mandate to be able to grant some of them seminar jurisdiction is very key, and it is only the power to your friend saying to hear that particular and answer make any decision, because some of the issues now at play here are bigger than this high where your friend saying court no free say or no need 2 minutes over has answer way so and on fan now, so Ocasa on found Konima, Unim Babia, ye can't want them. Or say 1. Request to nullify the committee settings on the basis that the Chief Justice was denied a fair hearing. 1 man say, a high court no stop it, committee na air cost no say or more munyo moduma because your man a fair hearing. Fair hearing is vague. What constitutes fair hearing? In I don't know or no interpretation of what fair hearing means. And the High Court to say, Mamma, I said, well, what he by there, yen to maintain so and her mount, and the fako him because to say, sir, a constitutional committee that has been set in motion by President based on a constitutional article, no, yen whom from so be a caution because I cassa, yam for 2 judges from High Court, yam from Supreme Court, now President Kofa 2 judges from Magistrate Court were then constitutional, and you can raise a legal valid argument to say constitution and a composition, something has gone wrong. But you baby, and you need to me say you bet me stop it that particular process. And mammy, for what some no can't nafako him, and yetia ye. Allegations that the legal team was prevented from representing her during the proceedings. Minim baby see or say abra ye in seminal cosono ya man a legal team akwenya amananko ama yanko representing. I don't know how true this particular issue is, but uti in seminar cosona all the going now akohodunyina no kwa according to way occur in the company of a lawyers, and the constitution also says you can decide to go there with your lawyers. You can decide not to. And as our lawyers and quite bit to me, but so that's one of our lawyers and I don't know at what point in time and ordinary lawyers air court committee nima. You see a man lawyers anchor that one the Supreme Court will look at that particular issue. Now you share, but one of the summer all can want them. Again, claims of your friends procedural breaches of the Constitution and the High Court civil rules. There be a yantama or the namkrum. The Constitution has been breached. Your friend saying civil procedures of the court, High Court, has also been breached. How, when, say you and I were not there. And some of these things, for me, I think that these are flimsy, childish excuses because some of these things have gone through the court mailer. It could not even trigger any kind of way, any way from the court. So these are make to believe kind of your friends sentiments and emotions are your packaging, the number your tone, just to win public sympathy, that kind of stuff. The core issues at hand, the woman here is not contesting any of these issues, but she's using so because if you have a solid case, a solid defense, you will not be dabbling in these trivialities and wasting everybody's time. Yes, me kunipa na me simenyam kunipa. Enya afi na me koka say na me lawyer na buy na first day no mamo na nwuram. Defense am what about say there be nipa na nya me na me kun na evidence ya kire say nya me nie. That is what I will present dealing with the main case. But no, she's not even talking about case in idea to no. She's using procedures, processes, and then I'm tete me fa hu de that kind of ensem hunu to regular out. She's not, your friends say, attending to any of the issues. Bear in mind. And I say the application for an order of certiorari to quash the committee's entire proceedings. And the asama okan say committee court and stop it and quash the entire just a Justice Ponamai don't believe voting as for committee no more anymore president based on Article 146 your friend saying demands High Court no montungu on terms a null and void because yamfa kwan papa so na ye and a court no say ma me on serious wrong. Your High Court na yete ye need jurisdiction ye need to me say ye beka say committee ya set a constitution ama ho kwan say president set up a committee now won't be provided a single basis justify say indeed at the body be akoso ama cultural in some way by Ghana Legal Council na why GBA sa ankrofo no be di omunsem hunu keka nobody was able to provide a solid legal justification or basis if we say indeed something that untoward has gone on, and for that particular reason the entire process should be nullified. Nothing, not even one. And it's the same argument and the course where now Mami Way has not been able to provide a single constitutional basis. And as a some infractions be a coswana occasion that far enunti abaya grounds for the whole process to be nullified. So court and say mame we cannot yentimin so answer we enti we so fa na fa ko wanim no minim ba bi o de beko. So last time I catch Chief Justice Abaya said kraman ya bona sumo station eno no nani so ay kra asa ukura ha no akopia ura ha no apia and it is very embarrassing said the Mexican because some now they call court to do no tie or kind some of the rulings not the reasoning behind the rulings you begin to question say mommy was she really a judge to the point of becoming a Supreme Court judge, and how did she become a Supreme Court judge? Because there are certain basic things you already or challenge or question. Sometimes what it means these are fundamentally flawed, because how can you say a provision that is expressive in the Constitution I can say this hearing must be held in camera. There is a reason, and there is a reason behind it. Now, men am Chief Justice and the Masama Bantino, young fan to TV so no be heavy to even be bold enough and make such arguments, crutch or say something is wrong somewhere. And it's the reason why I keep questioning. And I judge a free ride on a political affiliation alliances they just push you through and you become. It's so embarrassing because I was shocked when I heard said the woman was actually asking, because you see the thing she was asking, this is not something any court of the land can waive. The Supreme Court any point to waive, because that is a constitutional way until say you amended the Constitution and Sunny Yetimias hearing in camera no. So Supreme Court need to me, and I said, okay, Amadu Tanko JSC in the ruling or catch say me I met as a Supreme Court you need whole kind to vary a constitutional provision, because court and shemra a parliament in a shemra and emrani shall we a constitution that hono only thing a bit me answer yes your friend is saying yeah amendment now me over court by catch them say me yanko yin with TV so say me ankasa as a court no I can be removed because I'm breaching a constitution, and this is a Chief Justice. That's my worry. So people wa mutie and sometimes it's not so obi time obi o yen person mining koye, but this is a Chief Justice na no other na suspended no wadin sama kase wo kroman sama kase, and these are basic argument you see certain signs say they are so, the arguments are so gullible to the extent say you begin to wonder say how can a supposed legal luminary what rises to a point of becoming the Chief Justice will be making such basic and fundamental legal errors? Because how can you say the court should waive say you TV? So that is something I'm still trying to understand. When she knew at the time and she still knows say the thing is an explicit constitutional provision that is inserted in the Constitution, and no court can vary those provisions. And over the years, we Chief Justice and one who say, "Oh, I dear way, I've always argued say I have my issues with the 1992 Constitution, and the man can't show an and Mesha Sia call for amendment and yen net. Enti Abraham many ye Chief Justice no me sanka or ye Chief Justice same way my and ye raise even the whole process of removing the Chief Justice as for there are some of the arguments I will support that we need to amend the constitution. But you could have triggered some discussion and can be amend those provisions. Okay, we are not part of for you want the rules to be varied. No. You need to go through next time. Now say when this thing is over, then we can raise arguments to say these provisions in our constitution. Yes, I nipo nyansa ukroma say the biamaka. Your school no tamas kama. We need to make common sense and reasoning a subject as ye nipa, because that's how peers. A lot of people are going through the school certificate in as for the sabaka, but adwenya eka ho a ema nipa. It's highly missing, and I feel so sometimes I watch TV, you listen to people you respect so much, and send me through over now you feel so wow, I become so embarrassed and so depressed looking at some of these things. That is why some of us have taken up on ourselves that we will do all that we can, the very best we could, to ensure say the system will be set, and the output will be positive. I be far-reaching impact and positive one on the lives of the people. Policies will be refined. Decisions will be backed by reasoning, logic, and common sense. And humanity will be the central theme in our quest to develop as a country. God bless our homeland, Ghana. My name is Ivan Che Innocent One. Unyan subscribe to this channel. Be part of this intellectual community. Very soon we are hitting 30K. I say very soon we are hitting 30K. If you are not part of this YouTube family, subscribe and let's grow together. We have a lot. I've told you, sir, I'm trying to set up gradually, very soon. No, we will set up gradually. We will set up. And we're going to have a daily show, if not a daily show, within a week, we're having a lot of interactions, because I think there are those who are wealth and power today, and there are those of us who need to shape the discourse, make sure that people don't veer off. People will not take your power for granted. People will not use power as an avenue to steal and amass wealth, and at the end of the day, they get scot-free. That is never going to happen. Thank you very much, and subscribe.